It's my forte. So Jane attended Christchurch as a mature student and left with BA Hons in counselling, coaching and mentoring. Whilst here the first time, she volunteered in the archives in Augustine House. And since then, Jane has worked in a number of archives across the county and is currently involved with a National Museum project at the Chatham Historic Dockyard, as well as being a resident researcher and a digitisation, processing and scanning technician volunteer at the RE Museum. And Jane is currently on an intermission from an MA by Research in the Education faculty, researching argumentative and alternative communication in grief work. And I think this just about gets my prize for favourite paper title. It started with Braddon and ended with a ship, impostering through the archives.
Is it this one? Oh, hold on. I'm not very good with IT, so bear with me.
That's why we have Hayley.
Oh, it works. That's okay. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction. Right. As you can tell, I've achieved a lot, and what I'm going to say is a reflection on that journey, but also hopefully it will inspire some of the other students that I know you work with. Okay. Like all good journeys, we need a map. So the agenda is a map of the areas that I want to visit during this presentation. Okay. I have a primary goal for this presentation, and that is to encourage everyone to have a go, because that's what gets me through. Okay. Okay. As stand up here. Right. As I'm standing here, facing you all, I'm doing what we call in therapy as masking. Okay. And that's in more general terms on the think of the SWOT. So on the surface, I look okay, quite confident, but underneath, it's a totally different situation. This is my first time I've ever presented outside a selected group, so I'm battling away with my imposter syndrome. Okay, the self-belief that I'm no good, that I'm not good enough, or I'm not clever enough to deliver this paper to you. Okay, it's just some of the thoughts that I'm experiencing. For me, this began when I was about to leave my secondary school and had a career choice meeting. I had my heart set on doing historical research. I love the image of seeing the highly decorative manuscripts and the wonderful white gloves. I wanted to be that person that spends all day reading these documents. So I thought. Both a museum director and my careers teacher both told me that because I was severely dyslexic and did not go to a grammar school, I can never work in history or go to university. This conversation dominated my life ever since. And this is the snapshot of how, with the right support and guidance, I have overcome and achieved more than I can imagine. As I can stand here and wholeheartedly say that I did go to university, but spent the whole time since being accepted by UCAS through to the day of my graduation, which was quite a few years afterwards, believing that someone was going to tell me that they'd made a mistake and that I needed to leave. Yes, it had to be there. One of the biggest achievements that has helped me to overcome some of my imposter syndrome was given the opportunity to work on the Mary Elizabeth Braddon archive that is held at CCCU. So back in 2018, an advert came up on the social media asking for volunteers to work in the CCCU archive. After some gentle nudging from a very supportive husband, I applied on the ground that I would be turned down anyway, because I'm not doing humanities, I was in education. But I got accepted as part of the team and have learnt so much about how archives work, from the initial taking the objects out and putting them into files, indexing and cataloguing each item in the collection, and how this forms the database for researchers to use. However, I have gained much more than just these key skills. I have developed a love for researching the people that the Braddon Maxwell family corresponded with via their letters. My favourite experience was reading the name Alan from Crowbridge. On further exploration of the handwriting, I discovered, to my delight, I was holding a letter from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and not Alan from Crowbridge. As well as this, before COVID struck, I was starting to digitalize the Braddon collection using a normal flatbed scanner and into a laptop. Okay, right. Michelle mentioned a collaboration project with UKC Archives called Fish and Chips Project. This project was to assist one of the PhD students in putting together an exhibition. Like all these things, I applied with the same belief as always, I'm not what they want. But I got accepted and began a 3-week project that consisted of searching their archives for anything to do with the UK potato famine during the 1960s, which I didn't know about. I then created a display card about this event, and it was displayed alongside the cartoons that I had chosen. The exhibition was displayed for a few months. On the back of this experience, I saw another archive experience advertised, which I thought I'd never be accepted for again. We have a theme. That was for a role of scanning technician and digitalised processing. I applied and was invited for an interview, which I did after explaining my experiences on the Braddon and Fish and Chips project. I was shown around the building. Now, this is the RE's museum. A new experience for me was that I was asked which of these jobs I would like to do, as I had the skill set to do either. After a chat, we both decided, this meant the person interviewing me, that actually I was to do both roles. I am currently working on a project that will take me through the whole process so I can learn how it all works. I have scanned a scrapbook of the history of an airborne battalion that was formed in 1939. Then I have put on the metadata and the description of each of the photographs and the notes that contained within. That was in the scrapbook. I'm then going to upload this to the catalogue system, and eventually this will be a PDF for everyone to access. It's not easy. It's nothing like I tried to do with the Braddon on the flatbed scanner. The scanner is actually taller than I am, but it's still fun. Alongside working at the REs, I'm also involved in a Creating for Change project, which is a national museum and heritage project, which is looking at heritage and how accessible sites are for individuals with disabilities. The project that I am involved with is at Chatham Historical Dockyard, where we have formed a focused disability group that looks at the different parts of the dockyard to see how it supports disability. Eventually, a trail will be established to tell this story. So what have I been doing? Apart from filming my experiences on ships, including HMS Ocelot, the submarine, those who don't know, and having to come off due to my disability of being dyspraxic and having Erland syndrome. There's been many highlights, including the group's task at looking at disability and HMS Neymar. The Neymar, for those of you that don't know, was built in Chatham in 1756 and was rediscovered in 1995 under the shipwright building at the dockyard, where the timbers had been used as floor levelling. This ship had many famous people on board, from Douglas Gerard, Clarkson Stanfield, and bear with me on this one, Orianda Equinano, and Billy Waters, who fell from the mast and was injured, but went on to film a musical career. But one of the famous people which I've had the privilege to research is Rear Admiral Sir Charles John Austin, which is Jane Austen's brother. He served on the Neymar as captain when she was anchored at the Nore, which is near Sheerness. As the disability project is coming to an end very shortly, I'm staying on at the dockyard as a researcher, where I am continuing the theme of disability in the Royal Navy and its dockyard at Chatham. But I'm also looking at military hospitals in Medway. This has a link to Caroline. A while ago, while I was supporting her during an archive visit, we was working on the Sarah Grand archive. Yeah, one of the other collections we have. And Caroline was talking about the fact that Sarah Grand has links to a lot of hospitals. So I went home that evening and Googled after wanting to know what they were. And so after gathering this information about Lock Hospitals, I then wanted to know about the ones in Medway, because we have this naval town, Lock Hospitals, Navy connection. So I gathered all this information, which is now going to be used for this new project that I'm working on. Okay, so where am I now? If I can do it, what's stopping you is basically what I say. So thank you.